0707, simple interest. First, I want to start off with a review. Would you please take a moment and divide by the following: 5 divided by 12, 3 divided by 12, 7 divided by 12, 4 divided by 12. So pause the video. If you want to use a calculator on today's lesson, go ahead, feel free to. But please go ahead and divide these and see what you get. Okay, so let's see if you got what I get. So 5 divided by 12, we would get 0.416666, and you'll either end with a 6 or a 7 depending if your calculator rounded or not. 3 divided by 12 is a nice round 0.25. 7 divided by 12 is 0.583333. 4 divided by 12 is 0.33333. And it goes on forever. So just a quick review, dividing by 12. I want you to think about, why might we be dividing by 12? So our objective today is to solve problems involving simple interest. Everybody has borrowed money from your brother or your sister sometime, and usually, or lent money to your brother and sister. And usually when you lend the money, at least if you were me when I was a kid, I would say, yeah, I'll lend you $5, but you got to pay me back $6 later on. Well, that's interest. It's a very basic form of it, but it is interest. So if someone borrows or lends money, what factors influence how much is paid back? Well, if we're talking just on a strictly business level, the first thing we're looking at is the principal. And that's not someone at the school. That's actually how much money did you lend or did you borrow? The more money you borrow or more money you lend, the more interest you're going to have to pay back or you're going to earn. Next is time. The longer it takes to borrow the money or to pay back the money, the more interest you're going to pay. And finally, and that is in years, don't forget it, that's a very important. The rate. That's what interest was charged. The higher the interest rate, the more money you pay back, or that you're going to have to pay back. And that's usually an annual percentage rate. So amount to pay back will be the principal, what you borrowed, plus the interest. So when you borrow money, you're not just going to pay back what you borrowed, but also the interest, because people want to make money when they lend it to complete strangers. You might lend money to a friend and not charge interest. But if I wanted to borrow money, you probably would say, yeah, Mr. Gore, but I need a little something extra. And that could be, interest could be a way of determining how much extra I would pay. So the interest is equal to the principal multiplied by the rate multiplied by the time in years. The abbreviation for that is I equals P times R times T. And you're going to need to remember that for what we're working on today. So let's find the simple interest to the nearest cent. For number 1, we have $250 at 20% for 1 year. Well, we're going to use the formula I is equal to P times R times T. The principal is $250. The rate is 20%. Written as a decimal, that's going to be 0.20. Move the decimal 2 spots to the left. And our time is 1 year. And again, we need to always do our time in years. So if we take our calculator, we're going to go 250 times 0.2 times 1. And the simple interest would be $50. But remember, that's just the interest. How much in this case would you have to pay back? Hopefully you're going to say the 250 plus the 50, so a total of 300 paid back to whoever was lending the money. Number 2, $300 at 15% for 14 months. Remember our formula. We're going to use I is equal to P times R times T. Now this one gets a little tricky. The principal is pretty straightforward. It's $300. Our rate is pretty straightforward. It's 15%. What would that be as a decimal? Move 2 spots to the left and we get 0.15. The time is where we get a little bit tricky, because notice that's months, not years. And when you're figuring out interest, you do it in years. So we have 14 months. Remember, there's 12 months in a year. Remember that 12 is going to come back to us. So 14 divided by 12 gives us 1.1666666 years. So take and multiply those together, and you'll get the interest is equal to 52.4999999. Now remember, we said to the nearest cent, so we need to round to the hundredths place. So that rounds to $52.50 is the interest. How much would you have to pay back? 300 plus 52.50, which would be $352.50. Next problem. We want to find the simple interest for $3,284 at 15.5% for 2 years. Would you please pause the video and see if you can solve this problem? All right, so our formula again is I is equal to P times R times T. Our principal is pretty straightforward. Our interest rate, remember we always move 2 spots, so that's going to be 0.155, and our time is in years, so that makes it pretty easy. We get 2 years. So we're going to do 3,284 times 0.155 times 2, which means that our simple interest would be $1,118.04. How much would we have to pay back? We'll take that, add it into the 3,284, and that looks like to me like it's going to be $4,302.04 if I'm not mistaken. Doing that in my head. Here's a tricky one, because look at the time. See if you can solve it. If you can't, then wait for me and I'll help you out. But I would like you to try to see if you can do this one. All right, so I is equal to P times R times T. P is equal to 275. Rate is 5.5. Written as a decimal, that's 0.055. 20 months. Remember, there's 12 months in 1 year. So we do 20 divided by 12. And we get 1.666666. And the end of your calculator might say a 7 if it's rounding. Multiply those all together, and we get an interest of $25.21 when we round it. Remember, we want the total amount in each account to the nearest cent, so we're going to take our interest and add it to our principal, and our balance would be $300.21. Would you try number 5, please? Pause the video, see how much of it you can do. Okay, I is equal to P times R times T. Our P is 16. Our R is 3%. Our time is 6 years. So we're going to go 16 times 0.03 times 6. Gets us a whopping $2.88 after 6 years. But we want the total amount, so we do 16 plus 288. Gets us a balance of $18.88. Don't spend it all in one spot. And that's it for today's lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to post them on Edmodo. I do want you to do the summary at the end, so would you please tell me how you would explain this problem, how you do this type of work. Thank you very much.